I need it yesterday. I don't want to see any more after this.
Well, why don't you give me a ballpark figure?
Anywhere to 7 figures.
Yo, it's 5-0! It's a setup! Get
Seagal. Now you worked with him at Warner Brothers. I came on board Warner Brothers like right around like the Half Past Dead phase, I think it was. And
I never saw that. I don't know what that is.
Is that what it was? It was Glimmerman, Half Past Dead, like in there.
No, well, Half Past Dead wasn't for us.
Well, wait, we did do something where Lorenzo, Exit Wounds? Was it Exit Wounds? We did
Exit Wounds we did do. That was, and I think that was a Joel Silver thing.
I think it was too. And I think if I remember right, the rumor around our production office was that Steven Seagal had to learn dialogue to do the movie. Like that was something the studio like said, you need to learn dialogue, which I always thought he could handle, but apparently they like put it in like as a condition for that. Like he has to learn dialogue if we're going to take another crack at doing movies with him. Do you remember that? Do you remember?
I'll tell you what I remember. Exit Wounds, they shot in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
They had DMX. Was that the guy? They had
was that the movie where he jumped in the car at the car dealership and drove it off the lot and wrecked it? Do you remember that with DMX?
I don't know. I was busy doing other things. They shot in Canada, so I would see dailies on it,
mm-hmm.
but I wasn't absolutely positively paying attention to it. And since it was Joel, we didn't worry about managing Joel.
Right.
He knew what he was doing. So I didn't really worry about that stuff. But the thing with Steven is that he would rewrite everything. I mean, he would every single script would come in and it would have rewrites by Steven Seagal, and he's probably still collecting residuals from the Writers Guild for all that stuff. And then he would always, like with Executive Decision, he came in, he wanted to redo everybody's wardrobe.
Wait, so he wanted to redesign everyone's wardrobe on Executive Decision?
Because he wanted to wear his black shit, he wanted to wear the long-legged, long-sleeved black pajamas that Joel Silver would have been wearing if Joel was a little bit slimmer,
Right.
But it was always like black, and the thing is that, remember Rod Lurie? Rod Lurie was he's a director now.
Yeah.
And a very, very good director and a very, very good writer. But he was a film critic for the LA Magazine, and he had a radio show, movie talk stuff on 2 different radio stations, KABC and then KMPC. They were talk radio things, and Rod would do these movie things. And I got to know Rod, and he at the time didn't live very far from me in Pasadena. But he was calling Steven Seagal Fat Boy. He gave him that nickname, Fat Boy. Okay. Always ridiculing Steven Seagal. And then I ran into Rod at the Bookstore. Remember, it was an old movie theater in Studio City that got turned into
it's in The Falcon and the Snowman.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yeah.
So I literally ran into Rod there. I ran into Rod at video stores. I've run into him at theaters. I got to know Rod later. But he was calling Fat Boy. And I ran into him at the Bookstore, and I said, man, you don't even know. Okay, you don't even know. And he goes, well, what do you mean? And I tell him how he rewrites all the scripts, so if it's crappy dialogue, that's because Steven rewrites it and it's within his limited range, or what it was.
Yeah. And
he changes the wardrobe, and so he wants to do all this black shit on in Executive Decision, and these are like Navy SEALs. Okay, he's changing uniforms and stuff. I'm surprised he didn't ask the airline guys to change their uniforms. You know what I mean?
And I don't like that scene where he dies, because it's like the strike force is doing it without any rehearsal, and they rehearse these moves day and night, so he has to call people's names to go up the hatch, and it takes out the authenticity of it to me. We talked a lot about executive decision and why he was killed on that, and how that comes out of overages for his directorial debut on Deadly Ground. More on that, but getting back to him rewriting things in the exit wound phase, because you have the famous story of where you took like a William Shakespeare story or something, and you put his name on there.
I took a script for Dave, the movie Dave, and it had all the colored pages in it. I may still have it on a bookshelf here at home, because I love that script. It was beautiful, Gary Ross script, and it had all the different colored pages in it. And I gave it to Kurt Newman, who was one of the production executives at the time.
Right.
This is in the early 90s. And I said, "Hey, did you get this yet?" And it said, I took the Dave cover page off, and I typed in, and we had just done Hamlet with Mel Gibson,
right?
Through New Regency did that, released through us, and he did very well. So have you gotten this yet? And I'd taken the page off, and I did Macbeth. Okay, story and screenplay by Steven Seagal. Okay, additional dialogue by W. Shakespeare. I didn't even give Shakespeare's whole name.
That's what's hilarious, because he gets demoted to like small time contributor.
Well, and that's pretty much how I felt about what Steven was doing to these scripts. And so I gave it to Kurt, and he goes, "Oh my God!" And then he goes, and then he gets it. He gets it.
Yeah.
And it's like the whole expression changes, and he goes, "Oh, can I have this?" And I know he was down the hall showing it to people and probably taking credit, which is okay with me. I don't care, because my joke worked.
It's hilarious.
It's one that only really works great one time,
and it's funny because the pain is real. Like the circumstance is so real, and I went through that same sort of situation with him. Look, I'm not a fan of name calling. I like to criticize specific things within the mechanisms of what we're working with, and Lurie had a way of trying to put him down constantly. My complaint with Seagal is something a little bit more to the working relationship of what was trying to be accomplished.
Your road to redemption is paved with tombstones. No quarter, kill all masters. Go to noquarterkillallmasters.com. Rated R.